Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the October 7th Rotary meeting. Please silence your cell phones as Karen comes up to lead us in the prayer, the pledge, and the four-way test.
Join me in prayer. Dear Lord, we just come to you humbly, thanking you for who you are. We give you all the praise and glory. Thank you for this day. We thank you, Lord, for these Rotarians. Father, you called us to be a club of service. So I pray that you put the passion of service into our hearts and allow us, Father, to go out and do for those, Lord, less fortunate that are in desperate need. Father, bless us food to the nourishment of our bodies and our bodies to your service in Christ's name. Amen. Amen. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test of the Pledge of Defense say to do first. Is true. Second. Is fair officer. Third. Fourth.
Thank you for filling in, Karen.
Yes, sir.
As you sit down, don't forget to put change in the blue buckets. We had $47 last week, so could we get a couple of $10 matches? Okay. Jim, thank you. Another one? Okay. Thank you for your matches. Any prayer requests? Prayer requests, announcements. All right, Dr. Price.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to remind you about the Thanksgiving basket. We want to sponsor 75 families. Currently, I only have 40 of you who have volunteered to sponsor a family. So I'm down to 35 folks. So I have the sign-in sheet. I'll start passing it around if you wouldn't mind considering sponsoring a family. Okay? Thank you. And we are putting the basket together on November 20th, Saturday at 9 o'clock. Lakeview Academy will send another reminder if you haven't signed up. I'll start around the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Price. Any other announcements? Okay, Aaron, you want to, oh wait, the Sergeant at Arms.
Yes.
The drawing, visitors.
All right, right there. Okay, I don't think we have any visitors today. Did I miss anybody? No, okay. Before we do the drawing, all third quarter invoices have been sent. If you haven't got yours, let me know. Email me, call me, see you after the meeting, and we'll take care of it. So we're going to do a drawing. We're going to let our guest speaker draw.
6225.
62, or no, yeah, 6225. 225. Yeah. We know hearts. We know hearts. Feel it. You feel it right there. Almost.
Close.
There you go. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Aaron, you want to introduce our speaker?
So I've mentioned to all of you guys that this year my goal is to educate the club about Rotary. So today we have a speaker who is talking about Rotary, Heather Kellen. She is the district governor-elect and she's from the Perry Club. So she's going to talk to us about the Rotary Foundation.
So Aaron called me to ask me to talk about the foundation. So how many, if you guys knew that an incoming district governor was going to talk about the foundation, would have shown up today. Boring, right? That's who wants to listen to that? But I'm kind of with you, or I used to be. So I always say to people that maybe don't quite understand what we do as Rotary is understand what Rotary is. The more experiences, the more kind of insight into what we do as an organization, the more excited that you're going to get. And so I'm hoping that you will not regret today, that you'll go away feeling a little bit more excited about Rotary and what the foundation is. So to go way back in 1905, I think we all know that Paul Harris got his friends together in Chicago and started the first Rotary Club. And I don't think that when they first got together, they were necessarily planning on doing service projects. It was more about camaraderie, getting to know each other, probably the reason why most of us joined Rotary, right, initially. But as clubs began to form, and around the United States and even outside of the United States, people started doing service projects. They realized that groups together can go out and do some good. Does anybody know what the first service project was in Chicago? Anybody know? They called it public comfort stations, which were outdoor toilets. That was I can't remember what date it was, but in 1917 in Rotary, things changed drastically. And if you recall what was happening around the world in 1917, does anybody know? We were in World War I. 1914 to 1918 was World War I. So there were a lot of people in the world in need of service, in need of assistance. What happened in Rotary in 1917, Rotary International President Art Klump stood up at the convention in Atlanta. This is in 1917. And he said, we are going to develop an endowment, which is called the Rotary Foundation. And the purpose is to do good in the world. And that was quite a bold statement for Rotary. So you have to realize we just started in 1905. That's just 12 years later that we decide we're going to change the world. We're not going to just do these little projects in Chicago or in Milledgeville, or, we're going to make a difference in the world. We need all Rotarians on board. So, you're like, oh yeah, we can do that. But think about technology back then, and transportation and communication. That was a lofty goal for Rotary. But the donations started coming in, and then the foundation grew significantly in 1947. That's when Paul Harris passed away. And then in 1957, that's when they started the Paul Harris Fellow, so to get a pin. So if many of you, I'm sure, are Paul Harris Fellows, but to become a Paul Harris Fellow, you donate $1,000 to the donation. Back then, in 1957, it was still $1,000 to become a Paul Harris Fellow. So in today's dollars, it's almost $10,000. So when you think of our Rotary forefathers, it's pretty impressive to sort of comprehend all that. Currently, we have $1 billion in our foundation, and we have given out over $4 billion in life-changing, sustainable projects around the world. And I say sustainable because they're long-lasting. We're not just throwing money here and there. We're making sure that the projects that we're doing are going to last in that community, wells and clean water and sanitation and things like that. One of the biggest projects that Rotary is doing started actually from a service project in the Philippines in 1979. Does anybody know what that project is? Who said it? Polio? Yes, eradicating polio. So that started as a service project in the Philippines, and it was so successful that Rotary International took that service project on as their own. And in 1985, they announced that they were going to basically made a commitment to the world to eradicate polio, changing millions of children's lives around the world. And guess what? We are about to keep our promise. I think you guys probably know the news. There's only 2 cases of polio that's been reported in the world. One, the beginning of January this year, and one at the end in Afghanistan and one in Pakistan. I was just at a governor-elect training in Florida, and the excitement around that is just unfathomable. Since 1988, so we started in 1985, starting in 1988, we started joining forces with world governments and CDC and WHO and UNICEF and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And they have set these 5-year strategic plans. This has been going on for obviously over 30 years. You know, this 5-year strategic plan, we're going to focus on this country. You know, we need to add sanitation and healthcare education and those types of things to add on to the actual polio drops. But guess what? We're in the last strategic plan. There's no more 5-year strategic plans. This is it. I mean, it's kind of exciting when you think about, we are almost there. I mean, literally almost there. And we had a gentleman talk to us from, he's one of the main Rotary International. It could be happening in this next year. So that's exciting. And it really is a testament, I think, to Rotary's reach and our ability to cross borders and to form these relationships to do something on such a large scale. I don't know what all you guys were doing in 1985, but I was graduating from high school. So I wasn't there in the beginning, but many Rotarians were, and how amazing and fortunate to, you know, to see it from the beginning to the end. I joined Rotary. I didn't donate to Polio Plus or the foundation till I joined Rotary in 2008. But guess what? I still get credit for all that. I get credit, and guess why? Because I'm a Rotarian. And even if all of you in this room have never donated to Polio Plus, have never donated to the foundation, you still get the credit for eradicating polio. I mean, so it's a pretty awesome thing. We still need to push forward, even after those 2 countries are certified polio-free. There's still going to be some efforts to maintain the vaccines and make sure that these countries, you know, are sustainable. I have traveled to India to administer the polio drops, and I've also traveled with a vocational training team to do cleft lip and palate surgeries. And, you know, these are life-changing events, especially for a Rotarian. I mean, you know, when you're involved in a project, even at a community level, people are coming up to you and thanking you. And, you know, knowing as I'm holding that little boy or girl on my lap and giving him those 2 drops, that I have just protected that child from one of the worst worldwide childhood illnesses ever. And, you know, when I'm carrying this little child out to placing it in their mother's arms after a surgery, I have now given that family an opportunity to go back to their community because they were shunned. This mother has been shunned because she has this child with the lip that, and she can now feed this child in a normal fashion. You know, we're changing lives, and it's an awesome feeling. And like I said, when you're in the midst of these projects, you get thanked a lot, you know, and I think, gosh, I mean, I didn't raise those funds. I didn't develop that vaccine. I didn't do that surgery, but I'm a Rotarian, and I get to say you're welcome a lot. And it's because of this amazing thing that we call the foundation. And I kind of like to think of the foundation as this sort of, that we're this big international Rotary Club. And someone stands up, and probably in your club it's happened before, and says, hey, I've got this project and I need you guys to pitch in. Have you guys ever done that? And what do? We all pitch in because we know if a Rotarian stands up and says, you know, we need some money, you're gonna do it because it's probably a good project, right? That's what the Rotary Foundation is. It's really just this one big international bucket that we're pitching in for water projects and schools and better healthcare and these literacy projects. Teaching Rotarians that go out and teach other communities how to perform medical procedures, how to build a well. These peace centers. Have you guys heard about the peace centers around the world where we're training young adults how to promote peace? What an amazing thing. So it's where we're all putting our dollars and our pesos and our euros and our yen and all these different monetary from all these different countries. We're putting them in this one big bucket so that we all can use this bucket to do our service projects. And the Rotary Foundation is at the top. It's been the top 10 charities worldwide for several years. So we are good stewards of our money. We're not frivolously taking that money and throwing it away. So how can your club, how can you participate? The district is doing a lot of projects, and your foundation chair, is your foundation chair in here? Yes. Your foundation chair knows all about all these projects. So the easiest way is to sort of tag on to one of those projects. So a club out of our district has done the paperwork for a global grant or a district grant. And now they're just asking for donations, and all you have to do is give them some money. That's the easiest way. The second way is you guys can actually develop your own projects, and it can be an international project. It can be a community project. And then you can also donate to the foundation. Put your money in that big bucket. Become a Paul Harris Fellow. I know there are several Paul Harris Fellows in here, +1, +2. Once you get to 10, you get a major donor. And then you can also be a Paul Harris Society member. I'm a Paul Harris Society, and you get this little tag that you hook onto your pin. And what that says is you've made a commitment to donating $1,000 a year. They're not going to check up on you. They're not going to say, oh, you didn't do your $1,000 this year. It's a commitment to focus on that. You can become a Paul Harris Club. Are you guys a Paul Harris Club? Yes. And once you're a Paul Harris Club, you're always a Paul Harris Club. So when District Governor Ed comes, he'll be talking to you about he calls it truing up your Paul Harris Club. So the new members that aren't Paul Harris, maybe encourage them. Every Rotarian every year, that's $10, $5. So each club member at least donate something to the foundation. And there's several pins and awards and ways we celebrate that. The other thing I wanted to talk about is Polio Plus. And even though we're right at the end here, this is something that we still need to focus on. This is also a donation to the foundation, but it's specific to that campaign. And the difference is, first of all, you get a 2-to-1 match from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So for every 100 you put in, it turns into $300. But the one little tricky thing, and I always tell my club this, so if you donate to the foundation, 50% of that money that your club puts in comes back to your club, and you get to use it for different projects. If you donate to the Polio Plus Foundation, that money does not come back to the club. So when I was president, I said, okay, everybody donate to the foundation. And then what we're going to do is a fundraising project as a club to donate to Polio Plus. And guess what? There happens to be a really cool date coming up. October 24th is World Polio Day. So have a little event. Our club areas are having, we have this thing called margarita makeup, where if you want to make up, you can meet us out at a Mexican restaurant and have a margarita, but we're gonna turn it into a World Polio Day, and it's kind of fun. We always have the guys paint their fingernail purple, which is how they designate that you've had your polio vaccine, and all the guys get into it. It's really fun. So think about doing something. I think it's on Sunday, so we're actually going to do something on Thursday. But You know, and it's not a requirement to donate to the foundation. Just because you're Rotarian doesn't mean you have to donate to the foundation, but I mean, why are we Rotarians but to serve and helping other clubs in our district and around the world do these projects is, I think, what we're all about. I'm going to end just with this story. Do I have time? I can't see what our time is, but this story sort of wraps up the foundation for me. I was attending a Rotary training session some years back, and the speaker was talking about his visit to this African village. His Rotary district had helped facilitate a new school and a teacher for this remote area, and it was going to be the first one for this community. They'd never had a school before. And it was so small that not all the kids were going to be able to participate. So they held a lottery to determine which kids that year were going to get to go to school. And the teacher talked about getting to know this one particular family, and they had a boy and a girl, and they were so excited to find out, were they going to get to be picked for this school? I'm sorry, it's like on cue, I get so emotional, but so the boy got picked and the sister did not. But there was an obstacle for the boy. He had polio, and he was going to have to walk several miles to get to this school. And as many of you probably know, with polio, crutches, braces, maybe even a wheelchair, and he wasn't going to be able to go because no one was going to be able to take him. His parents had to work, and the sister said, "I'll do it." So she knew how important that education was going to be for her brother. So she helped him to get to school every day. She waited for him, and then she helped him get home. And when this Rotarian was telling me this, well, telling this whole group this story, it just like hit me like a ton of bricks, because you know, it really made me think. Well, the other thing that happened, the Rotarian was so touched by this story that he went back to his district and raised the funds so that every single child in that community could attend school. And it just shows you how one person, one Rotarian service can change a community so significantly. And we have 1.2 million Rotarians. Imagine what 1.2 million Rotarians could do. You know, the Rotarians that contributed to the foundation so that this project was possible, not even knowing where their money was probably going to go. So you kind of have to look at what the overall impact of a service project is, or even just $1 to the foundation. When District Governor Ed comes, he's going to talk about this a little bit. The theme this year for Rotary is serving to change lives. And he wants us all to calculate how many lives we've changed. And I said, how in the world are you going to be able to do that? Let's say one club does the dictionary project. I know you guys have probably heard that, where they give dictionaries out to this whole class of kids. So you can't just say it's 30 kids, because that dictionary is going to set somewhere and another child might pick it up, or the parents, or the aunt, or, you know, it goes to the thrift store and one of those kids pick it up. So it's interesting to sort of see how everything snowballs. So it'll be interesting to see what his number is at the district conference. But this is what Art Klump and all those Rotarians were envisioning in 1917 when they decided we're going to change the world. It's an amazing thing, and we all get to say it. You all get to say, we're changing the world. So I challenge you guys to go out and change the world. And even if it's just $1 or $2, you know, do what you can. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to be the district governor next year. If you guys want to be involved in the district, let me. I'm trying to con Erin in. This is my bribe. She said, if you come and speak, maybe I'll talk to you. So, but does anybody have any questions? a really cool thing that I learned over the past week in training too was Afghanistan. A lot of people have questions about Afghanistan because of what's going on right now. And the information that we got is the Taliban do want to have Afghanistan sort of cleared for polio. So they are cooperating, which is a cool thing because it would be sad if we got to the end of that road and then there was an outbreak in Afghanistan and then it just spread everywhere. So that was an interesting comment that I heard over the past week. And they're using the kind of the infrastructure that we've had for polio to administer the COVID vaccine into a lot of these remote communities too. So that was cool. So that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions about anything? No.
Any idea what the criteria is for determining that polio is eradicated once and for all?
Yes, so it's a time frame is what I've understood. So I think it's a year after the last one.
Locations.
And then there's like a 3-year monitoring process, but I think it's a year. So the last one was in January, so they would have to determine by January of next year. And then they do some kind of monitoring. I'm not sure all of the details, but yeah. So, but I mean, even just last year, if you guys remember the numbers that came out, I mean, they were in the 50s and 60s and hundreds towards the end of the year. So 1 per country is pretty, and the thing about polio is polio can't be spread. Polio has to have a human host to spread. So if a polio vaccine is running around and, lands on Joe over here, it's going to die because Joe's had a vaccine. So, so eventually polio is going to die. There's not going to be any polio anywhere.
Let me tell you a quick story.
Yeah.
My previous Rotary Club, when they first got started, they found a member of our community that had polio. It was confined to his house. He had no relatives. He had no help, no hope. And one day they found him there. I don't know what the circumstances were, but he had no heat, no air conditioning.
Oh,
His house
wow.
was awful. But the worst part was he didn't have a ramp up to his house. So we would have to build his chair up to a large step and crawl into his house.
Oh my goodness.
But the point is they built him a ramp and that started a program of ramp building, Madison County Club. They've heard of it. They have since built 900 ramps
Oh, wow.
for people. So it's interesting that one individual, you're talking about things, helping more than 30 people, you're actually helping many more. That's what happened to this club. They built 900 ramps for people who are not able to get into their
That's
homes.
amazing. The another little, so we're gonna have, when I'm district governor, we're gonna have our conference in Callaway Gardens. And Georgia has a really interesting polio history. I don't know if you guys all know it, but when you come to Callaway Gardens, and you guys are all coming, right? There's Warm Springs is right there. And the first time that I had visited Warm Springs, and I'm a physical therapist, so in all my studies, we always hear about Warm Springs because it's a really, it's historically been a unique place for physical therapy because of FDR and his polio therapy there. So I've always wanted to go there, but I never did. And it is amazing. You guys, you'll have to go there. So come to conference and go to Warm Springs. But thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Any last minute announcements? Okay, we're adjourned.